and I have, well, many lives ago.
Many lives.
But we had been talking, I've been drawn to her and her work from the very beginning. So we had made an early connection and kept in touch, and then this whole time, space experience came together at the perfect time and the perfect date, preordained, so we can tell you that story. But I want to thank all of you for coming on a Sunday and joining us. There is no format to any of these artist talks that I have. It's really an open discussion and dialogue. I think it's important that everybody feels like they can be part of the conversation. Any questions, we will start, and then we will open the floor for conversation. So, welcome here. So happy to have you.
Thank you.
And your fan club, of course, and welcome them. It's amazing. One of the greatest, just from my part, my side is, I'm not surprised by any of the things that have happened in the show in terms of working on it and working together. But it's lovely to see the support and the love for what you are doing from the community. So that's a beautiful, beautiful piece. So I would say, why don't we start with what the show's about, which is a huge, huge thing.
What is the show about? So this show is about process, and this show is about discomfort, and this show is about trust. It's really fascinating because I've worked with a lot of people to help me with this show, and a lot of you have commented on the framing and the boards and how it's done. And that is because of Chris, who's in here somewhere. Where are you, Chris? Here you are, okay. Yeah, and he's amazing. So I just want to say, I guess this is a good example of what this show is. So this is going to go back. I'm going to link back to Chris, so you're going to have to trust me, because it's like when I get wrapped up in that yarn there, we're just going to kind of go around a few times, you and I. So in January, I taught a class on manifesting, and I put together a journal. And I had an idea to take a class that I had that was very popular and beloved, and to be able to show my students' work along with my work. And part of why I wanted to do that was because I wanted to show hope. And it's really not possible to show hope all by yourself. Like I could do something and you would all be like, yeah, well, you're an artist, that's what you do. So I thought, let's make this show a little bigger than me. And in truth, there was something really comforting about it, because I was bringing along people that I really loved and knew. And some I've never met, some I've just met. Abba came from Washington, and Sue came from Chicago, and they're all in here. There's Carrie, there's Danny, there's Carol, there's Holly, they're everywhere in here, and you're in here, and you know what you mean to me. So there was something really kind of safe about doing a show like that too, because I'm bringing everybody with me. Mm-hmm. It's like, having a birthday party and celebrating it with like 74 other people. It's going to be a damn good party. There's no way you can. So I knew that, but I really wanted to show hope, and I also wanted to step out of my comfort zone, because I've been doing what I do for maybe 20 years, and I have totally evolved. It's not even the same work, and it can evolve over a period of months. But I was getting comfortable. I was pretty good at what I was doing, how my life was going, and I thought, let's just turn this one up a little bit. And the reason I did that is because I believe that we grow in our discomfort. I don't believe any real growth happens when we're all cozy and nothing changes and we don't have to bob and weave. So typically, probably once a year, once every year and a half, I'm going to really turn up that volume. But this was a huge turn up. And it was very unexpected for me. I really learned a lot in this process, and that's what I want to share with you. So I have this journal. I play with ephemera, old stuff. There's some numbers. There's like, I have a piece of paper, hundreds of numbers. I sit at a desk. I'm trying to show what these books would look like hung up, and I decide one of them needs a number. So I take the number 824. I have literally hundreds of numbers in front of me. I take 824, I put it in the book. If you look on that book in the green frame in the lower right-hand corner, there's only one number on it. And the show opened last night, which was 824. It's also August of 2024. So I have this idea. I call Ashara in March. And I say, I have an idea for a show. This is pretty, it's not early March. It's, you know, it's March. Yeah, we're in it.
I was ready for you.
We're in it. Yeah, she's waiting for me. I knew when I had a show, I knew I wanted it here. So I knew when I did that journal, I wanted it here. So I called her and I said, so I have an idea for a show. Here's the idea. And she's like, I love it. And I'm like, what dates do you have? And basically she said, I have August of 2024 for this year left. And I also asked about 2025, which would have been very civilized. Very, very civilized. But I'm not civilized. So, and Ashara is certainly not. She says she's feral, and she is feral. And a delightful feral. So anyway, I looked at her and I said, I guess it has to be that date. And she said, yeah. So there we are, game on.
Yeah.
I'm a few months away and I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. The only thing I know is that I for sure, and I haven't even honestly offered it to people yet. I haven't even said, hey, I have this idea. So I have a class that has a lot of people in it. There's close to 700 in that class. I put it out and that elicited a ton of response, such as, oh, I'm not worthy enough to be seen by people. I can't part with my favorite journal. I'm going to make 2. I'll give 1 to you. And like, it was just an unbelievable amount of stuff that came out. And then they started coming in the mail. And let me tell you, it was insane for me. And every one of them had to write what part of them was in it. And I want to say, for some, it was loss. For some, it was joy. For some, it was things we can't visualize. Like one woman wrote, my silence. Like, what does that look like? And one of the questions I ask my students all the time is, what does a feeling look like? And one of the things I love about my work most is we have this idea that to be an artist, you have to draw. I can't tell you how many people I talk to them. Oh, you're an artist? I can't draw at all. I'm like, great, me either. Well, let's go. Let's have some fun. No, I mean, I can draw, but it takes work because seeing is a muscle. So seeing is a muscle, and you have to train your muscles to do pull-ups, push-ups, whatever, but you also have to train your muscles to see. So I can flex the muscle, and I can draw. Does it bring me the same joy as other things? No. So do I feel like I want to do that all the time? Absolutely not, because if it doesn't bring me joy all the time, to a high degree, I'm out. So, you know, I'm kind of sleepless. I woke up at 4 in the morning, all day last week, actually. Some days I woke up at 4 and I stayed up and I worked, and I was like, whew, okay, so I'm just going to pause here for a second, take a moment. I feel really safe with you guys, though, so I can do that. So anyway, I have a show, and I don't have the work, but what I tell my students is, you have everything you need. You need nothing. Everything you have is in you or around you, and I ask them to find it. So here I am in the show. They're coming in, you know, all of that. I have that under control. But now I have, and that's a lot to manage, and then I have me. So I believe that I have all the work. The canvas behind me, I started 24 years ago. It was the first canvas I threw paint on and said artist, and I saved it. I carried it around, I painted over it. It's been everywhere with me. It's been in my studio for 14, 15 years. This one, Carol, right behind me. The whiteboard that was behind my couch. Do you remember? The white thing I hung stuff on? Yeah, so. I wanted to reuse parts of myself, but I also wanted to let go. I mean, I carried this thing around with me for 24 years. It's about time to let this go. Time to let a lot of things go. But I knew I had everything. I started to play with this, and several people, maybe in this room, came to a sewing circle at my studio, and all I did was take weird pieces and make a city out of them. It didn't even look like a city. And I'm like, so I started to visualize what it could be. Like I could see it, but it wasn't there yet. So I started to work on that, and I sat in my discomfort for a pretty long time in my studio. And even more uncomfortable than me was my husband, Michael, who's right here, who's sent me these amazing flowers, and I could do really nothing without him. He's amazing. And every day Michael was like, oh man, she's got to get this going. I've been in this gallery, they're big pieces. Okay, Colleen, you're working today, right? What do you have done? What did you do? What did you do today, Colleen? And so one morning I woke up and I said to Michael, oh my God, I did the coolest piece yesterday. And he said to me the wrong thing. He said, how big is it? And it's the one with the, leaving self-doubt. So it's not very big. And I'm like, I haven't had a cup of coffee. I'm not even awake. And I said to him, wrong question. And then I looked at him. I said, you know what? This is going to be really fun. You're not going to see the show till it opens. You're going to know nothing. And I said to him, I looked at him, I smiled. I said, guess what? You're going to have a little less information than you had on our wedding night. That's what you're going to have for this show. So Mike walked in last night. And it wasn't that he didn't try to get here earlier to see it, because he did. He could think of every reason why he should be here to help, to do. Absolutely not. So there was a lot of discomfort. And I have to tell you, it was kind of surprising, because I have done some pretty cool things. I'm a greeting card artist. I have cards that Trader Joe's has sold 90,000 of. I've been in Wegmans. I've done a lot of stuff, and I've been successful at it. And so here I am doing something that's way out of my comfort zone. And my first instinct as a human and as an artist is to run. So I sit in my studio and I'm like, I know, you'll take classes. You're gonna learn some new stuff for this one, Colleen. This is gonna be great. So I'm thinking of all the stuff I can learn. Maybe screen printing. I'll start screen printing for this show, right? And I said to myself, like, honestly, it was almost like a constant dialogue with myself. Oh, no, you won't. No, you won't. You're going to sit right here, and you're going to sit in the discomfort, because you already have everything you need, and you just need to see it. So you're going to sit here, and some days were long. And Mike was no longer asking questions, so that got easy. That was off the table. Whenever I start a project of any kind, or I'm doing anything that feels really hard, I write myself a note. In this case, it was much bigger. I had this canvas that made no sense. It was cut up, I stitched it together. Ashara came to my studio and said, that's a dress, that's a shroud, that has to be something. I'm like, oh, okay. But I had stamped on it, and when I write from I just write. I'm not like, okay, it's time to write. Okay, let's sit down, let's make sure you get this right. There's none of that. If I'm gonna write, I'm gonna pull the car over, I'm gonna write. I don't care if it's capitalized, spelled right, babble. So here I wrote a note to myself, trust the opening in you. There will be discomfort, climb inside of it. Trust, you, the process, your knowing, your vision. And I invite everyone to stitch on that. It's a work in process.
That was interesting though, because you were like, it's not done.
It's not done. Everything has been interesting.
And I was like, that's fine.
That's fine.
Bring it. We're going to hang it, and it'll be a work in progress, because people want to know how you get to the end.
That's exactly right.
Right.
And then the day of the show, I called Ashara. I know, I'm going to let people stitch on it. Like, that's how fluid this was. Yeah. So creating the show with Ashara was like being in water, because we both have the personalities to bob and weave. And this was not a regular show. It's interactive. It's a learning experience. I wasn't just about sales, and I love selling my art, but I also wanted everyone to come in here to leave with hope, and I wanted to have something, so my greeting card line is there. So I wanted, if someone came here, they could spend $450. I wanted all of that. But then at that point, there's so many angels that showed up for me, I came to the conclusion that I needed to take apart my own journals. and I have lots of them. So I went to see Chris, who I've known for 25 years. And Chris has framed this piece years ago. He's done my work. He knows me really well, but he's never knew the journaling part of my work. And I brought this journal and I sat in front of him and I brought all these pieces and Chris said, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is process." And we talked for a minute and he said, "I see everything. I get it. I have you. Go back. You have an assignment. You have 5 days. Bring me back all the pieces. Bring me back the paper. Bring me back the ephemera." So I brought Chris this amazing ephemera, like just insane, like subway blueprints from, you know, Broad Street in Philly. And we decided which pieces would be framed, which wouldn't. And he did that. And the part about this show that is really interesting is there's a letting go process, because to do something like this, you cannot control it. This is a moving work. It's, even Karen called me this morning. She's like, "Do you want this, 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 this?" And I said, I don't care. You decide. Like, I just don't care. You know, like, and that's really where I'm at. Like, I just trust that there's something, you know, I bought the shirt I wore last night 2 hours before the show. I mean, like,
it was fabulous.
And it was rocking. I mean, it was waiting for me. And it, you know, so there's a trust. But I said to Chris that day, I said, "You know, I think I met you 25 years ago for today. Like, this is the why I know you. We've gone through 25 years together just to get us here, because no one else could do it." And he killed it. And so my joy is bringing other people into a fold, okay? I don't believe we rise by climbing. I believe we rise by pushing people up like this over our shoulders. And I have made a ladder that I swear to you is at the sky. And sometimes I'm in the middle, and sometimes I'm at the top, and sometimes I'm at the bottom. But there is no place I go that I'm not going to take people with me. When Trader Joe's found me at the stationery show, I said, "Go to this artist, this artist, this artist." We are all unique. We are not in competition with each other. The only thing that I have to offer the world, because trust me, other people can show you what I can show you. And you that are my students, you know there's amazing teachers out there. The only thing I can show you and share with you is how I think about my art. That's what makes me unique. That's what makes Michael unique. There's other people that carve. They don't think like Michael. There's other people that do what I do. They don't think like me. So my joy is to be with people, open my head and say, "Here, now what are you going to do? You know, what are you going to do with all this?" So to do a show like this, there's no point in me doing it unless I'm taking a community with me. And you can't have a community unless you give them agency. So I can't police a creative like Chris and get this kind of work. Can't do it. It's not going to happen. Rick is sitting in the back. He owns Carl's Business Machines in Trenton, Hamilton, and it's where Flo comes from, my beloved typewriter. She now has a sister. He lent us another typewriter. I mean, I call Rick. I'm like, "Hey, Rick," and he's like, you know, he just lent me typewriters. Like, people, like, that's they're machines that he works on painfully, and they're like built like cars, you know, like there's a lot of love. And so many angels carried me and walked beside me. And even this morning, I see people came in and like, I'm pretty tired, but I decided to go to Golden Nugget this morning with anyone that wanted to go with me. Like, it's just crazy, batshit crazy. Like, I should be home meditating in a room to come out here and speak with you. But I'm so honored that you came to the opening, you came to the show, you're here. I'm incredibly honored that people will trust me with their journals. And I just want to tell you a story of my son, and I know it's my favorite of this time. I have many, but he was at our home and the journals were coming in, and he said, "I just want to understand this." He said, "So you have a class and you charge people?" "Yeah." "And they make it?" "Yeah." and then they send it to you, yes. And you're not going to give it back to them, correct, because I don't have the mind space, and it's going to go either in a museum or it's going to be auctioned off for charity. And he goes, Mom, that must be the greatest scam there is. Like, it's like, that is like unbelievable. And we laughed, and then he said to me, he looked up and he said, wow. He goes, they really trust you. And I said, oh yeah, they do. Why? It's a lot of trust. And so, you know, to be able to do this kind of work, like those books are made from cardboard. I walked with my husband and daughter on the canal years ago, and I picked up a piece of cardboard. It was wet. I peeled it back. I saw something. They saw crazy, like, oh my God, there she goes again. But I saw something, and I turned it into something, and it healed me because I didn't have to think. I could stitch with my eyes shut. I could put pieces of myself. It was a hard period of time. I did not have to think. And what I teach is just putting you in it is enough. We don't have to aim for beauty. Like, we just don't have to. And guess what? If you say it's beautiful, it is. That's like enough. You need nothing else. So to sit here and to say, I saw this from a wet piece of cardboard, that's awesome. But then all these other people see it too. And that's like unbelievable. Like unbelievable to me. So, boy, that was long-winded, wasn't it?
No, that's great.
That was really
I was just gonna
something.
add to that piece about the community and how, for me, and seeing all of these tiny sacred journals and then also seeing your work, one of the beautiful things about the show and something that I care very deeply about is that we're honest in this creative space. And that all
She's brutally honest. Let me
I am.
You're brutally honest.
But that
Love
coming from that space, it could be nothing other than beautiful.
Nothing.
Because
Nothing.
it's honest.
Because
And
it's honest.
because everybody is creating, to your point, in a structured way that you're giving them, but it can only be them.
It can only be them, and there is no boundary. Like here, and in order to teach somebody to be vulnerable, you must be vulnerable. There's no way to teach, to get people to do this kind of work. So I record in real time, and Holly said, oh my God, I watched you make that piece. Because I make it in process. I don't always get it right. So sometimes I have to say, I had to take this apart. I'm really not loving this. And then I take it apart and I show that. So it's really awesome. And being here in your space and working with you, like being an artist is lonely. You are by yourself. You are in your head. You don't have a team to say, what do you think? So I knew that working with Ashara would push me, stretch me. I mean, I'm really never going back from here. I took apart my own work, and work I loved. And I handed it over to someone like a child and said, dress them, feed them, raise them. I'll see you at the college, see it when they get into Yale and whatever. But that was how it really, how it felt. So.
Yeah, and I think this also furthers this greater conversation about what is art, which I'm constantly
Totally.
rediscussing
Totally.
and trying to change the whole dialogue about that, which is, you know, it's typically like somebody we've given the authority to says, this is fine art. And so we all say, oh, okay, this is not fine art. And we're like, oh, okay. And we don't do that here. This is not the conversation that we're having. We're talking about all art in any forms, by anyone, whether you call yourself an artist or not. And in my terms, if you're making anything that's creative, you are an artist. So you should just
If you make your bed well, I think you're an artist.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And this is a great example. This show is a fantastic example of that, and how important it is to live this creative life, and how that makes you a valuable artist and a valuable part of this society.
Correct.
Yep.
It's so special, and to collaborate, like those pants, and I wanted to do something with things falling out of my pockets and picking up things, which I am like if you take a walk with me, I'm really ridiculous. But I think what it is it's a way of seeing. And we have to be able to see beauty in everything, even in the ugly, even in the worn, the wet, the ripped. I mean, if we can see beauty in that, then everything is beautiful and everything is possible.
And hopeful.
And hopeful, yeah, I mean. And then when you have that thought, everyone that feels like that aligns with you. They find you. I mean, I have people here. Cindy in the middle in the orange shirt shot the picture of me that I used in the postcard, and I can't tell you how many people are like, that is the most insane, beautiful picture. So it was hard. I was leaving my comfort zone. Cindy had a project for school, and she wanted to shoot me in the studio, asked me to dress like Marilyn Monroe. I'm like, okay. 2 grown women playing dress up. And, but Cindy has a whole look for me. And it's pretty serious. It's not me smiling, happy, giggling, laughing. It's not gonna, this is a serious shoot, and as a friend who saw the picture said, they're museum quality. So I'm sitting on the couch, and she's taking pictures, and all of a sudden the lamp, if you look in the picture, there's a corner of it, the lamp falls over, and I go hysterical. That's the picture, she shot it. But what it was 25 years of friendship, 25 years of trust, 25 years of growing together. And I think you forgot the picture.
I did forget the picture.
And the picture that got used that Cindy loved, I don't like. And the reason is, and she could care less because it wasn't about me, and I knew it wasn't about me, so I didn't care. I mean, but the reason is I was serious. And if you look at the picture where I'm smiling and laughing, I look young. If you look at the other ones, I feel like I am every age and then some. And what it showed me was when people say, oh, you look so young, it's joy. You see joy. Okay, that's all it is. And then I had it like right there. I'm like, holy God, like this is the same woman. But I don't see myself like this. So therefore, it was just awesome. It's all about trust, and it's trusting that you have everything you need. And it's sitting in that space. And when you are not sure, you sit there. And a friend of mine said to me, I love all your writing. I don't really agree with when self-doubt, when you sit next to self-doubt, you leave the room abruptly. And I said, well, I probably could have explained that, a little bit better. I don't have self-doubt. Do I have fear? Absolutely. Do I have a thought I could change my mind and then not do it? Yeah, I could start a project and change my mind, right? But I know if I put my mind on it, I'm going to do it. There is absolutely no question, which is what makes it really important that you focus on what's important to you, because it will come to fruition. You will make that happen, and if it's misery, it'll happen. If it's joy, it'll happen. So I don't sit with doubting myself. I don't doubt myself. I doubt a lot of other things. But I don't doubt me. Like, that's the one thing I'm not doubting. And
how old were you when that happened?
It actually happened pretty young. I realized, I'm going to say, I learned a huge lesson at about 13, 14. My mom was raised very, very poor, like super poor, like begging for food, poor, huge family. And you can't take that out of somebody. So she married well, a lot of money, still poor, right? No matter what she had. So it was really important to Joan that her daughter Colleen looked a certain way. But there's decades between us. Me and my daughter, I'm wearing her shirt that she was giving away to Goodwill, okay? I wasn't wearing anything with my mother's. And even now, if I saw a shell or stretch pants, I'm not sure, I might be like, but she had me dressed like that. But I wasn't allowed to wear pants, actually. And every night I got ready to bed, and it was a big deal. She walked up the steps and she went in my closet and she opened it and she picked out the clothes I was going to wear the next day. She did it for years and years and years and years. And she knew the clothes I hated. And again, a beautiful, lovely woman, and this is her stuff, not mine, right? So I did write something, you'll see a piece in the front that says, everything that was broken in you made me whole. So this went on, and I'm talking tears, hysteria, because I was always a creative. I did not want to be contained. I was pissed. And I was screaming. I actually would go to school. I would undo my hair, bring other clothes, change, get into school, change. At the end of school, get back in the clothes and get off the bus. So then I got tired, and I thought, this isn't working. So my parents were divorced, and I called my real father, because I had a stepfather who was fabulous too, and I said, I want to go to Catholic school. Send me to boarding school. And he said, I'm not sending you away from your mother. I'm like, please send me away from my mother. It's like, I won't do it. He goes, I'll send you to Catholic school. And I'm like, okay, put me in a uniform. Game on. So I learned at that age, I went from being picked last on the basketball team, stuttering, newly over-sucking my thumb pretty much for about 13 years, but stuttered. And I wanted to be a newscaster, and I stuttered. So please, and all my life, that's what I was going to do. So that's pretty funny. But there it is. But I learned at that point that I could work from the end. So what do I want? I want to look like everyone else. I don't want to be singled out. I don't want this nut having control over what I'm wearing. So I put myself in Catholic school. And it was life-changing. And then I realized that when I worked from the end, and I went this way, it was, and that's the same. So when you see that manifestation journal, I mean, I've been doing that stuff for a long time. And sometimes I didn't know. When I was like 9, I laid on my floor and I would imagine a pink liquid going over every part of my body. Pink liquid just going over every part. And every part it went over, it relaxed. I did not know I was doing yoga nidra. I had no idea what I was doing. But I feel like intuitively, I think we live many lives. And this has got to be, how old am I? 500? Yeah. So yeah, we're both about 500. And I was saying to Ashara this morning, because I call her almost every morning, very early, because I'm up very early.
Well, you text first usually.
Sometimes.
4:35 o'clock.
Yeah, there's a text. She doesn't answer, then I call. Like what I did this morning. But what was I saying?
You said something to me this morning.
Oh, I know what I was saying. I said to her this morning, the best part about working with her is I know her soul. And I haven't known her long, but I know her well. And I know her deeply, and I can feel and sense her. The hardest part of this was I don't have a history. So I can't read her. I can feel her, right? But I don't have this, I have this feeling of friendship, this feeling of knowing I love her, we'll be friends forever and ever.
I'm keeping you on your toes.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I don't think she's gonna be the only one doing that, but yeah, so it was interesting to work so closely and intimately with somebody and to know them on a soul level and not have the time, the lifetime level that I have with so many people in this room that I could pull and say 25 years, 20 years, 20 years. Like they're all in there, right? And, but I am a people collector. And I've collected all of you. Collecting, I just collect people, It's a beautiful way to go through life, so anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I would say, who has questions? Would anyone like to talk about?
I've answered every question you could have with that.
I mean, you were very succinct and focused. It was really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will just say something about the process of us working together. So it was interesting for me because I had a very clear vision in my head about all of this, like super, super clear. probably from like when you told me the idea of the tiny sacred journals, and I was like, yes. And then you were like, how are we gonna do it? And then we talked through it. But so much of what I had seen when we sat came about. And it was great because, like I said to Colleen, typically when we do shows, it's the artist drops the work off and then I say goodbye. And you come back and you see it in the space. And it's like this fun surprise. And I like that because I'm like, I will take care of all of your babies and I will, hang everything perfectly, and you have to have trust, and then you come back and then you just get to be in it in a new space, there's this joy of that. But that wasn't the show. So it was interesting. We had a conversation. Like,
I was in her space.
She was in my space. And it was fun. It was actually good. And, like you had said, like it was very fluid. We were like, okay, let's do this and this. And this was like this ever-moving, changing, breathing thing.
I have an idea.
Yeah, this is what we said. Every time in here it was like, I have an idea, I have an idea, I have an idea. And I would be like, okay, here's your list. Here's the 5 things. And then I'd get 2. And then I was like, okay, here's the new list. Here's the 6 things. And then I would get 4. And then I was like, okay. And then the last day, I'm like, this is the final list. And I got most of everything. But, there's this joy in, just to your point, of trusting, which isn't my most favorite space, which we've discussed too. But
Oh yeah.
it was a great way of evolving. Like, these pants, this installation, I did yesterday, the day of the show.
That was, I have an idea, was going over here.
I have an idea, and then, we
Yeah.
pulled it down, and I had said, you're going to leave, and this is going to be the one surprise. And then she was still doing work, and
I never left.
it was up, and she never left, and so there was no surprise, really, except for just being here with everybody.
It was still a surprise.
It was, yeah.
And I just, I was thinking as I'm looking at these pieces behind you, I just want to say, like, when people are like, what do you do? I'm looking at the pieces and I know what they say. And what I do, a way that I go through life with joy, is I put heavy down. And I teach other people to put heavy down. We don't have to carry it. There's no reason. But we can return to it. It's not going anywhere. Like, it's not like we're taking it and we're, it's gone. It's under the rug. It's gone. No, it's not gone. But we can leave it here for safekeeping, and we can go forward. And as I'm looking at a piece that I wrote about scars, that how not all scars are done by plastic surgeons. Some of them are really ragged because you have to do it like just for survival. They're not pretty. And by me being able, I find that when you can acknowledge a feeling, it makes it much softer. And what Ashara was saying, at some point we were talking about being clear. And I think we're both super clear.
Yeah.
In very different ways, but we're clear. And one of these books by a woman who is a doctor, and in one of her pages, her name is Amy, she wrote, "Clear is kind." And it's like, yes, clear is so very kind. Can we be clear? And just tell it like it is, and without emotion, with no meanness. Let's all just be clear. So, and that's what this was for you. So there is no going back for me. I don't know. It's really good. So thank you.
I have a comment. I'm really honored to be a part of it and having a little sacred journal in there. And what I'm so thrilled about on a personal level is you two together. It's so exciting for me because I've known Ashara for so long. Our kids, have been in school together, and she's made stuff in my house many years ago. And obviously, Colleen, I've been seeing workshops online for years. Since 2017 or so. And so you do it together. It's just so exciting for me, and I'm so happy because I've been, into this place since you stepped open.
Yeah.
And so
And I remember you making comments, wait till you meet Colleen. You too, wait till you meet
I'm
Colleen.
like, why hasn't she met Colleen yet?
Yeah. She's like, have you met her yet? I'm like,
Colleen's classes online or whatever, she talks about you all the time. So
Usually when there's a pin in his underwear when he's driving, in the bed, on the couch, I'm like, oh, Mike stepped on another pin.
But I'm inspired by the relationship too. You guys have a wonderful relationship together, and it's really sweet to see. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Add anything? Ask anything? No? Okay. Thank you again for everything, for being here, for being with us. And yeah, and this show's up until September 14th. So bring everyone back, send everyone, and feel free. I know there's a lot to read and a lot to look at and touch everything and sit on this couch. And part of my joy in this space is sitting with people. Like when I have shows that are deep like this, I literally sit with people on the couch. I'm like, let's talk about this. So there's this whole beautiful other just thing that always happens during the day here. So come back as many times as you need to just really enjoy it.
And the front windows.
Yes.
This is your comfort zone, is on the right. And the comfort zone's a really beautiful place to be because there's no mistakes, there's no judgment. But it's really important to have your discomfort zone. And there's 2 places, and there's prompts, and there's writing on there. And then when you sit in this chair with the book that I manifested, I invite you to put something that you would like to happen, but as if it already has, and not about what it is, but how it feels. So I use the example of a beach house, which is a great one. You want to live by the sea. I don't want to hear about the house. I want to hear about how the sand feels between your toes in the morning when you go by the sea with your coffee. That's what I'm interested in. And that's what that whole book is. And you can pick up that book and read it. There's the last pages about me going to London with an empty suitcase. And that'll happen in November. That is booked. I'm going to go to thrift stores, and then I'm coming home. I'm just having lipstick, some undergarments, meds, vitamins, and then and red lipstick, and I'm out. Did I say red lipstick? It is worthy of twice. 2 red lipsticks, matte, shiny, and glasses and contacts. Anyway, that's it.
And we're going to work with those. We talked about
Yeah.
possibly working with what comes from those 3 spaces and doing a journal from what has happened during this exhibition, and then hopefully making that an annual experience, which we're gonna see.
Yeah, a friend of mine wrote a book called 3 Skeins of Caledonia Blue, and in it there's an artist. Her name is Elizabeth Duvivier. In it, the artist only has 1 show a year. Works all year, and I'm like, that is freaking brilliant. That's really smart. She's like, yep. So I'm like, I think I want to be that artist, and I want to see what comes out of the year, and it won't look like this because I don't know that I'll look like this 2 weeks from now, but it's good.
It'll look like something
Yeah.
beautiful.
So, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bottom of my heart, thank you. Love you.